Hi, I'm Dr. Christy Cruz, founder and CEO of That's Right Consulting. Welcome to this workshop, To Quote or Not to Quote, where we will discuss the art of paraphrasing. In this workshop, we are going to talk about what paraphrasing is, why you should do it, when you should do it, and when it's okay for you to quote, and how you go about paraphrasing. Let's start with defining what paraphrasing is. Paraphrasing involves restating the work of another author in your own words. In this way, the writer is able to compare and contrast and focus on summarizing and synthesizing essential information. This is from the APA style manual. In the first bullet, I took a direct quote from the APA manual. In the second bullet, I paraphrased what I took from the APA manual. So this is an example of paraphrasing. I'm going to go into more detail, but I just wanted to point out that as we go through the workshop, you'll see often two bullet points where I will use a direct quote, and then I will provide an example of what it is to paraphrase. Let's talk about why you should paraphrase. There are four reasons why it's important for you to paraphrase. The first is to explain or simplify work that may be difficult to understand. When you paraphrase, you show the reader that you understand the information and you clarify the information. The second reason to paraphrase is to maintain the flow of your writing. As a writer, you have a unique voice, and using direct quotes sometimes alters that voice. Too many quotes can make your writing sound choppy, and it can make it difficult for the reader to follow your ideas. Paraphrasing allows you to communicate other ideas without interrupting the flow of your writing. The third reason to paraphrase is to eliminate less important information. You have the ability to be selective with the information that you share from the work. So paraphrasing allows you to only include the information that's most relevant to your particular topic or research. And the last reason is to avoid plagiarism. It is important when paraphrasing that you include an in-text citation and a full citation in the reference list. If you would like more information about in-text citations and full citations, you can refer to my video on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Academic are using academic sources or citing academic sources, citing sources in academic writing, I'm sorry. That video is available on my YouTube channel. So what is plagiarism? Plagiarism is when you steal, use, or represent the words or ideas of someone else as your own words or ideas. The originator of the words or ideas must be given credit when using direct quotes, summarizing, or paraphrasing their work. I always like to go over plagiarism in terms of academic policies. I want to say for each institution or for your institution, you want to check what the institutional student code of conduct is as it relates to plagiarism. This one is taken from my former institution. And so usually how it is that your institution will have the student code of conduct. They will have a list of prohibited conducts. Under the prohibited conducts, there will be a statement about academic dishonesty, which includes plagiarism. Then there will also be a statement regarding those code violations and what possible sanctions could be, if you would get a warning, or how the plagiarism or the investigation process would unfold. In my experience, it is generally up to the faculty person to decide how they want to handle the plagiarism case. Most of the time, there's going to be two options. It's either going to be that you are going to get an F on that particular assignment, or you will get an F for the course and have to repeat the course. Either way, you don't want to get caught plagiarizing. So let's jump into when you should paraphrase. There are three guides or guiding points that you can use to help you decide when it's appropriate or when you need to paraphrase. The first is to change the organization of ideas for emphasis. And what that means is when you change the organization of ideas, it's sometimes necessary that you do this so that you can emphasize the points that are most relevant relative to your paper. When you change the organization, it is important to remember to be faithful to the meaning of the source. So it's okay to change the organization, but it's still, once you change the organization, it still needs to reflect the original meaning. Another time when you should paraphrase is to simplify the material. You may have to simplify complex vocabulary, sentences, or arguments for your reader, especially if that's not their area of expertise. This goes along with to clarify the material. You may have to clarify technical passages or specialize information into language that is appropriate for your audience. There are going to be times when it is important for you to use direct quotes. In academic writing, though, let me say direct quotes, especially in your dissertation, should be used very sparingly. But there are going to be times when you need to use direct quotes, and there are 4 times for that: for accuracy, for authority, for conciseness, and when there's unforgettable language that needs to be used. When you use direct quotes, again, you want to use them sparingly. What direct quotes shows to the reader is that you can copy and paste or type material, but it doesn't show that you understand. When you paraphrase, it shows that you have an understanding of the topic at hand. But again, there are going to be times when it's okay for you to use direct quotes for accuracy. If you are unable to paraphrase the material without changing the author's intent, then you should use direct quotes. When you want to lend expert authority or provide source material for analysis, then you should quote. As it relates to conciseness, if your paraphrase is going to be longer than the original source or your attempts to summarize the source are awkward, then you should quote. And then there are times when there's just unforgettable language that has to be quoted in order for the reader to get the significance of the topic. So if the author has used unique phrases and you want to comment on the phrase itself, then you definitely want to use direct quotes. If the author's words are memorable because they have historical relevance as well, like the "I Have a Dream" speech, there may be things in there that you just can't paraphrase, and in that case, you can use direct quotes. So I want to show a video on writing or on avoiding plagiarism and understanding how to paraphrase. So let's take a look.
From passage to paraphrase. Let's look at an example of paraphrasing an original passage. This passage is from Shelley Millett's article, Understanding Home, a critical review of the literature. First, let's look at the passage and try to identify what the key ideas are. This will help us think about paraphrasing the ideas rather than paraphrasing sentences. A closer look at the passage reveals 2 main ideas. First, the idea that the past 20 years have seen an expansion of research on the study of home. Second, that this topic has not been studied in an interdisciplinary way. Using this understanding, we can now start to think about changing the structure and wording of the passage. Some of this work has already been done, just in the process of working through the gist. The paraphrase now reads, "The meaning of home has yet to be studied in a truly interdisciplinary way, despite the fact that in the past 20 years, there has been a growing interest in the topic from scholars across diverse fields, ranging from sociology to architecture." As a final step, it's important to compare the paraphrase to the original. We need to make sure no more than 3 to 4 words in a row are copied, and that the paraphrase uses no more than 20% of the original language. We also need to make sure that the paraphrase is accurate. Here, the words that are copied from the original are in blue. Words that are copied, but which are considered technical or essential terms that can't be paraphrased, are in green. This paraphrase accurately captures the idea while thoroughly changing the words and structure of the original.
Okay. So I wanted to show this video to lead into the next point, how you should go about paraphrasing. The first thing you want to do when you are paraphrasing, it's very important that you read the original text. You need to read the text multiple times, not just once. The key to paraphrasing is that you understand the text. And so make sure you read it multiple times. You want to think about the overall meaning, not just specific words and sentences. You should fully understand the text before attempting to paraphrase. After reading the text, put the original aside and restate it in your own words. When you are able to do this, you're ready to write a paraphrase version. It's important that you don't refer to the original text once you're working on paraphrasing. Do not go back to the original text. What you want to do is pretend you are explaining the text to a friend. You want to focus on the ideas and not the specific words or sentences. As was stated in the video, do not copy more than 3 to 4 words in a row. No more than 20% of the original language should be used. You don't want to change the meaning or the idea or take it out of context, so the paraphrase must be accurate, but you shouldn't use more than 20% of the original language. Always proofread what you've paraphrased. I have run into students who paraphrase and don't proofread, and it changes just the proofread, not proofreading can change the meaning of the text. So edit and revise as necessary. So let's go over a couple of examples of paraphrasing. The original text is differentiation as an instructional approach promotes a balance between a student's style and a student's ability. Differentiated instruction provides the student with options for processing and internalizing the content and for constructing new learning in order to progress academically. The paraphrase text, teachers use differentiated instruction to help students learn, allowing the teacher to cater lessons to the way each student learns and each student's skills. So the primary words that were taken from the original text, differentiation, instruction, helping students, and allowing students to process. So those ideas were taken. And in reading the two, the paraphrase text is shorter, it's more succinct, you don't lose the meaning, but it's evident that you understand what the text was saying. And then when you paraphrase, you still need to cite. Even though you've paraphrased, the idea came from someone else. And so you still need to provide a citation. In this case, this is a parenthetical citation at the end of the sentence. Let's look at another example. Wines drunk at Greek tables did not always come from Greece itself. The wine snobbery of the time extolled the merits of wines from the slopes of Mount Lebanon, from Palestine, Egypt, and Magna Graecia, Greater Greece, that is, Southern Italy. The 10 liters a day drunk by famous wrestler Milo of Croton was a wine famous in Calabria, where Milo lived. This wine, Ciro, is still made. So let's look at the paraphrase text. It's important to refer to the area where the wine is coming from. And so you have to use Greeks because that is the basis of the original text. The other basis of the original text is that it's about wine. It's also talking about a certain echelon of people who drunk wine and where that wine came from. And so the paraphrase text has all of that. Although Greeks were picky about their wine, they enjoyed wine from outside Greece. Upstanding Greeks enjoyed wine from many of Greece's local trading partners, including Palestine, Egypt, and southern Italy. One story tells of the famous wrestler Milo Croton, who consumed 10 liters of foreign wine daily. And so, again, you are getting the overall gist of the original text. It is easier to read, it's more succinct, and all of the important pieces have been pulled from the original text into the paraphrase text. Once again, you have to cite. Let's look at another example. The original text states, students frequently overuse direct quotation in taking notes, and as a result, they overuse quotations in the final research paper. Probably only about 10% of your final manuscript should appear as directly quoted matter. Therefore, you should strive to limit the amount of exact transcribing of source materials while taking notes. So what we have here is direct quotations, overuse of direct quotations, the limit, and I would say, and basically the limits are the main ideas. And so in the paraphrase text, in research papers, students often quote excessively, failing to keep quoted material down to a desirable level. Since the problem usually originates during note-taking, it is essential to minimize the material recorded verbatim. So again, it's talking about limiting direct quotes. It talks about that how part of the issue happens and that students overuse quoting. And it gives you all of the important pieces of the original text. So this is an opportunity for you to practice. The original text reads, leaders who lack emotional and social competence undoubtedly can become a liability to organizations, directly leading to employee disengagement, absenteeism, stress disability claims, hostile workplace lawsuits, and increased healthcare expenses. How would you paraphrase this text? This is the citation. Remember, you must cite the source. Let me go back so you can take one more look at that. This time you should have read it about 2 times. We'll give one more read, and then we're going to change so that you can begin to work on paraphrasing. So remember, when you're paraphrasing, you should not look at the original document. So let's take a look at paraphrasing practice 1A. The paraphrase text could look like employees experience negative outcomes such as stress and disengagement when their organizational leaders lack emotional and social skills. So the most important things were pulled out of the original text, which were employees being disengaged, the negative outcomes that are related to the the negative outcomes such as the stress and disengagement when organizational leaders lack emotional and social skills. This is a longer one, so let's take a look at practicing this one. And I would recommend your pausing this workshop while you work on this, and then I'm going to move on. But again, you can pause it so that you can read and work on the paraphrase, but I'm going to move through. So this is the citation for practice 2. Again, you can pause. And here is the practice response. Bernecker and Kramer found that when students believed they had a limited amount of willpower, they were less likely to exercise during the stressful time of final exams than students who believed they had a non-limited amount of willpower. So what was taken from here or what was taken from the original text was in terms of the research that was related to exercise and the students' willpower as it related to stressful periods like final exams. And this was based on a study. The research found that when students felt that they had greater willpower, they were able to do more exercise than the students who believed that they had limited willpower. And so all of what was in that huge paragraph has been succinctly translated into this paraphrase. Again, you can pause so that you can take time to read, but I'm going to move forward. This is the citation. Back is, no, this one had 2 parts to it. So this is the original text too. You can pause that. And then here is the citation. And let's take a look at what the first text paraphrase would look like. And here is an example of the second text. Again, 2 huge paragraphs taken and whittled down, but done so succinctly without losing the meaning. So that is the end of our paraphrasing workshop. This was a shorter workshop because paraphrasing is one of those things that you have to practice. And generally, when I do this workshop, it is with a group and we can work through the paraphrasing together. But for the purposes of um, this webinar, I wanted to just get the information out there to share as a resource on my YouTube channel. Here is my information. You can reach out to me at that'srightconsulting@gmail.com, my website and phone number. And again, my recommendation to make the most of this workshop, this webinar, and the information presented is to start from the beginning, go through the steps for paraphrasing, and then use the examples that I gave to help you to practice paraphrasing. That is going to be the best way for you to use this particular resource. If you have any questions, you can always drop me an email or text, or you can visit the website and leave a message or chat, and I will get back to you. Thank you so much.